are getting ready to head out to the hospital. Today I need to have a baseline heart scan and some baseline blood work before I start the chemo tomorrow. So that's what we're doing. So this morning I just took my Whole Foods probiotic because you have to take it on an empty stomach. And I think we're ready to go. Heart scan. Everything's going well. Took about an hour. Actually 2 hours. So now we're on our way to go get some blood work. Almost done. Good blood? Laboratory? Vamos around for it. Okay. Pero va a pasar aquí ahorita. Done getting the blood work for the baseline for the chemo tomorrow. So now we are heading over to the pharmacy. The doctor wanted to give me a couple of prescriptions for nausea medicine just in case I may need it for the chemo. Just had an ultrasound, a CT scan, trying to rule out whether I have a gallbladder problem or a pancreatic problem. So I was in excruciating pain earlier, so they just gave me something for the pain. So took the edge off, so I'm doing a little bit better. So probably within the hour, the doctor should be able to give me some results from the CT scan and everything to see what's going on. So we should have some real answers pretty soon. So. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you so much.
What Dr. Gerges was talking about earlier. So we'll inject some contrast, some dye, through the duct that connects the gallbladder to the duct that connects the liver to the intestines, because that duct is very important. We want to make sure there isn't a stone that's stuck in it.
So you're going to try to roto-rooter and flush it out?
Yeah. So that tube that connects the liver to the intestines is very important. So when we're doing the surgery, we try and stay far away from it. Because if that gets injured during the surgery, it's more complicated to fix it. If it's noticed during the operation, it's not terribly complicated, and we can normally fix that during the operation. The more sort of the worst complication is if it gets injured and it doesn't get noticed during the operation. It may then require a second, much bigger operation in the future in order to go back and repair that. The risk of that happening is probably 1 in every 300 surgeries, so it's not common, but it's also not zero. There's a small risk of bleeding with all surgery. There's a small risk of infection with all surgery. Those risks are relatively small because we use such small incisions for this. That's pretty much it. Do you have any questions about what we're planning to do?
I don't want to know anymore. It's bad enough I'm going to be a vampire when I come out with stuff stuck in my neck. So.
You're going to come out. Look, you're going to come out healthier, though. You're
Yes,
going to
I
get
am.
better.
Yes, I am.
Everything is good, especially with all of us praying.
So if everything goes to plan and everything goes well,
Right.
then am I out like the next day, provided I urinate and all that good
Yep.
stuff?
If everything goes according to plan, you should be able to leave on Saturday.
Okay. The one question I do have is that my chemo was bumped from Tuesday to a week out. My breast doctor, and let them know what's going on because they have no idea what's going on.
Just let them know that we're planning to take your gallbladder out tomorrow.
Right.
If they're planning to have chemo like next week on like Thursday or Friday or something, that's probably still okay. They may want you to have like healed a little more before they give you chemo. But once the incisions are healed, that you should be okay to go ahead and have chemo. So the second form is a consent for blood transfusion.
Okay.
It says that if we need to give you blood in order to keep you alive during the operation or immediately after the operation, that's okay with you.
Don't get any blood from them because it'll be all Hooters sauce. Besides, none of them are O's, I don't think.
You just sign in there.
All right.
All right.
You promise
All right.
you take a picture.
I promised I'll take a picture.
For me, it was all very procedural stuff. You know, I wasn't concerned, oh, am I going to come through the surgery? Or, I mean, if I don't wake up on the table, then I don't wake up. Then I'm in heaven and it's going to be all good. So I'm not concerned about that. I was just concerned about more smaller, trivial things like the immediate pain of stuffing stuff down your throat when you're half awake and, you know, kind of people sticking continuous needles in your arms all day and you're just like, I've had it. So, and I think because I'm just so tired and I haven't got enough rest too, all of that's kind of playing a factor, and you know, you're just kind of getting hit on all ends without having physical energy. You know, it's just enough to go use the restroom, have enough strength to just do the basic necessities because I'm pretty much nauseated all the time, so I'm just not feeling physically up to par, you know, like my usual self. I'm feeling good and yeah, I mean, it was a rough day today, but in between that rough moments, there's good moments, like Arron giving me a pedicure today and just, you know, rubbing my feet and putting oils on and just, you know, praying over me. And that makes you feel really good. It just makes you feel pampered and comfortable, and appreciate Arron just really taking really good care of me here. And yeah, so, you know, we have our good moments, we have our not so good moments. But we're going to come through this. 100%. God's going to see us through, and that's all there is to it. I mean, Tuesday I was supposed to have the chemo, and of course the test came back from the lab report that the liver wasn't functioning correctly, so of course they stopped the chemo. And on the way home started having another attack, of course, then had another attack at 8 o'clock in the evening, and we just couldn't drive all the way back to LAC again. It was just going to be too far. I was practically throwing up in the car, and so we just thought we're just going to go to Santa Monica Emergency and see if they'll help me get me sorted there. So that's how we ended up here at a closer location. So, and I must say, it's probably the best decision we've made, that their care was immediate. There wasn't very many people here. They were able to see me right away. Within the space of 2.5 hours, they had all the tests run, lab work run, everything run, so that they could make a decision. They knew right away that I had a blocked bile duct. They knew that immediately from the test. So we're just so thankful that they found that immediately and that they were able to manage my pain, because when I came in, I was probably at, you know, they ask you to grade your pain from a 1 being the least to a 10, and I was at a 10. I was at a point where I couldn't breathe anymore. I was at a point where I couldn't control. I just couldn't control myself. I was beyond, just like, you know, you can't get comfortable in any way. There's nothing you can do to release it. You're just like sitting there writhing. And so in the space of an hour, I was pretty much screaming and not very nice situation. So they had to quickly get an IV in. They're like, oh my gosh, we need to manage this pain right now. So they gave me like 4 cc's of morphine. And I will tell you, that just stopped everything within 3 minutes. And that was probably the most relief I've had. And then 4 hours later, it started again. They gave me another 4 cc's morphine. And they were like, there's no way you can manage this pain. You're not going anywhere. You have to stay in tonight. We need to find out what's going on. And so I was so glad to see that there was an urgency to get this part of the situation taken care of. They said if I hadn't, if for any reason I would have gotten the chemo, like say the lab got missed or they didn't decide to stop the chemo, if I would have had the chemo in the morning, my symptoms would have been even worse. I can't imagine them being worse, but they said the chemo would have amplified everything and made everything worse. The liver, pancreas, gallbladder, everything would have been worse. I just can't imagine, so I'm just very thankful that they decided not to do the chemo. So they're taking very good care of me here. I ended up having a very high fever last night for about 7 hours. It was about 100.4 for about 6 or 7 hours. So they're like, we can't do any surgery till your fever's down. So fever was down this morning around 5, and that's why I get to have the surgery tomorrow. So it's all gonna be over soon. And as you can see here, I have very tiny veins, and they've had a very hard time getting a IV drip in my arm. And so I've had 3 IV drips in the past 24 hours. And this one is okay for what I'm doing, but for the surgery tomorrow, they've just informed me that I probably wake up from the surgery with a nice one in my neck. That doesn't sound very fun, but at least I'll be put out before I know what's happening. So that'll be okay. The doctor's saying that if all goes right and they can do the 4 incisions and take it out in the 4 incisions, then my recovery time will be much quicker. If they have any issues, then they'll have to do the standard old school cut underneath probably the right breast. For me, I just have to keep telling myself, take one day at a time, take 1 hour at a time, take a minute at a time. I think I was scared today when they want to do that other procedure. And I just didn't want to do it. And I just had a lot of fear rise up. So I just had to, just pray a lot today and just ask the Lord to give me strength. But yeah, I was scared. I think just more scared of the procedures itself and the details and, your mind wondering and what ifs and I know we're not supposed to worry, but when you're dealing with so much pain and because I feel pretty weak physically, not having any food basically for a couple days now and only on an IV drip, and I've literally drank, this much water. They let me have a little bit of water today. So like my physical strength is not there to kind of compensate and help me with the other parts that are weak. So Aaron's been wonderful. Pray for me all the time, and he's been reading me all the Facebook posts, all the people praying and stuff, and there were several times today that I really felt like prayers were being answered, like there was just things were shifting so fast, and all of a sudden I would just feel very peaceful. I'd be okay. So it's like I just know that like God was moving heaven and earth on my behalf, that there was something happening, so that makes me feel really comforted. But you still get scared. I'm not a proponent of pain. I don't like pain. So when you've already had so much pain, and then you're dealing with all this trivial pain, it just kind of piles up. So yeah, I was definitely scared. it's an interesting kind of a revelation. Arron and I were talking about this several weeks ago, and you know, because of all the changes that needed to be made and all of the research that went into all of this immediately, you start understanding that, I mean, for me, I thought, wow, at the end of the day, I'm going to come out of this way more healthier and way more stronger and way more better. I just know that. And I feel committed to myself, not really anybody else. Because it's always been about other people, right? But it's just like, no, this needs to be a commitment between me and the Lord, that I want the next 50 years of my life to be better than the first 50. And I think at the end of the day, I'll say, you know what, that cancer thing that happened to me 30 years ago, that saved my life. That was the kick in the backside that I needed to push me into another level of understanding how serious this was for me. I know it sounds like an oxymoron. I know it sounds even kind of rude or offensive. But I think for a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of people who are going through what I'm going through, and many of them have said the same thing. They said, you know, I didn't know that if I took certain vitamins or ate certain foods that I could have prevented this, or, you know, so we're learning a lot. And as you all know, with all the problems with all of our genetically modified foods, and all of the issues that we have on the planet, you know, we are literally physically being affected by basic food that we buy in the grocery store that we just don't think twice about. And so I've become one of those label readers. I've become one of those people who are like, I need to check this out before I put it in my mouth. I mean, there's a different understanding that I need to love me and love my body and appreciate and not take it for granted. So yeah, this is all going to be so much. I mean, and even several people have sent me really wonderful, encouraging words saying, you know, the rate you're going to just be so much better. And it's true.